Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm really excited because I'm bringing you the first of my Christmas DIYs, well, except for the Christmas in July videos that I did. But we are gonna get right into our Christmas DIYs. I know it's early for some people, but I wanna give you some ideas so that if you decide you wanna make any of these, you can actually pick up the items at the Dollar Tree while they're still available because they won't be there long. And also I like to get my DIYs done so that when I go to decorate for Christmas, I already have everything made. So whether you're watching it now or maybe you're gonna wait and watch this in another month when it's a little bit closer, that's fine, but we're gonna get right into it. The first DIY is inspired by a Kirkland item that I found on their website. It's not really a dupe, but it's definitely inspired by, so I hope that you enjoy it. And I've got two signs for you, and I'm trying to switch things up so that everything isn't just something with words because, you know, you can have a lot of words and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to mix things up a little bit. I hope you enjoy these. I really love how they came out. Let's get started. All right, so for this first one, I am using the canvas that is left over from an 8x10, I think it is, framed canvas from the Dollar Tree. I previously used the frames in other DIYs and I saved the canvas. And then I've got some metallic paint, I believe that's from Folk Art, which is from Plaid, and I am dry brushing that on to my canvas, just kind of doing the amount that, you know, looks good to me. I love the Plaid products. They actually sent me quite a few paints to try out. I'm still using the ones that I already had in my stash, but they are carry brands like Folk Art and Waverly and Apple Barrel and ones that you are probably already familiar with. So now that I've got my paint on my canvas, I am laying out some Jenga blocks, or tumbling tower blocks rather, from the Dollar Tree. These are found in the toy section, and I am trying to make myself a frame. You can see here my Kirklands inspiration, and if you were just using a canvas with the frame, you would take the canvas off, use the frame for this part instead of making your own, but I just wanted to use up what I already had, and I had tons of canvases on hand. And then I have this cute little DIY kit. We're going to come back to that in a second. This is from the Dollar Tree, and I just wanted to make sure it was going to fit in there. And we're going to begin gluing our blocks together. I am using wood glue. I was afraid that the hot glue would create a little bit too much of a gap in there, but the wood glue takes a lot longer to set. So use whatever you have on hand, whatever you want. I did choose a wood glue that dries clear just because I feel like that's a safer bet. But I'm going to glue together. I used 5 on the top, 5 on the bottom, and then 4 on the sides. But you can see I staggered where I put the side pieces in line with the bottom ones in order to get myself a rectangle and for everything to fit properly. Like I said, you could just use the actual frame if you want. And what the other thing is, if you wanted a square frame like the Kirkland's item, then you probably would want to pick that up from like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I've never seen square canvases at my Dollar Trees anyway. So, you know, like I said, this is an inspiration, not an exact dupe. But what I did was glued all of the sides together and then let that dry really well and glued them all together. So this takes a little bit longer, like I said, because I'm using the wood glue, but you can do it however you choose. Now I have my little kit here. Now these came in lots of different styles. I picked up a few of them. I picked up one with the nativity scene. This piece, I'm just going to show you, this is how it would work if you were going to use the kit. You just kind of put them in those slats, but I am totally saving that piece for future projects because I've already got some ideas for that. And I decided to paint everything in almost like a brown stain. I watered down just a light brown paint that I had on hand, brushed that on and wiped it off, and I loved the color that came out here. Use whatever you have on hand. Like I said, I'm just trying to kind of go through. I have a lot of products, a lot of paint on hand, so I'm trying to use what I have, and I just picked a color I liked. And I'm just using the manger scene area and then Mary, Joseph, and baby Jesus. But you can use, that came with 3 wise men. I'm not using that, but you can use whatever you want. And I'm just showing you, I'm going back and forth because that's kind of how I did the project, letting things dry. So I glued together the frame, and now I was just trying to see how I wanted to glue this all together, if I wanted the people to be behind or on top. I went with on top because I felt like everything would stay better. Once again, I'm using wood glue, but feel free to use hot glue, and you just got to hold it for, you know, a little bit longer than you would hot glue for it to hold, and then a little bit longer for it to set. and I'm just gluing them on the frame, and then we're going to put baby Jesus on top. Now obviously the inspiration piece, this was not a 3D piece, but I had this and I thought it looked really cute, but you could certainly freehand the image that they had because it was very simple. And I was really unsure about doing the writing and the words, but I decided to give it a shot. So I'm using a fine tip black marker because the writing was black, and then they had child in gold. So I'm using these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. I will admit, these gold rub-on transfers are not easy, and it did not work. All the other ones I've used have worked great. I don't know if it was because it was on canvas and the texture was bad, but I rubbed, and this did not work. I was kind of anticipating that as a possibility. I didn't like the writing altogether anyway. So I had lots of these canvases on hand, so I didn't mind experimenting with it. I just did another one. So that's why the painting looks a little bit different. And I'm just going to trace out the size for the frame. I didn't want any, I'm going to attach this on the back, and I didn't want there to be any overhang. So what I did was trace it out and then cut it a little bit in from that line. I'm just wanting it to look as finished as possible on the back. You could also just simply cut this out with some scissors. You could attach it to the frame and then cut it out. But like I said, I just wanted it to look nice and finished from the back. So that's how I did it. And then we're going to glue this on to the back of the frame. It might be easier to lay the canvas down and put the frame on top. I did it with the frame on the bottom and laid the canvas on top. Do whatever works for you, but I'm just going to hot glue that all the way around, and then we're going to hot glue on our little nativity scene. So I decided to do it just without the words. If you have a Cricut or nicer handwriting, the tools I had on hand, I just could not make it look the way I wanted it to. So I thought, instead of continuing to fight it, I still love this. So like I said, not a dupe, definitely an inspiration piece, but I love how that came out. And then it stood up okay, but I wanted it to just stand up better. So I took one of these wood planks from the Dollar Tree and painted it in that same gold paint. And then apparently I did not record myself attaching this. So I'm going to just kind of explain it to you. I also ended up taking a couple of tumbling tower blocks. I used wood glue and hot glue on the bottom of this, and then I just used a couple of tumbling tower pieces on the back and just used some hot glue to secure those in to hold it while the wood glue on the bottom of the frame set. So not sure what happened. I think I must have not pressed record because I've got nothing. Anyways, but I wanted to show you how this item came out. I love it. I love the colors. Not everything I do is in neutrals, but I did love the neutral look of this, the simplicity of it, and it stands up really well, and I really like how this one came out. I hope that you do too. So for the next piece, I just have this sign from Dollar Tree. I've had it for quite a while, and we're just going to cut that open, and we're going to take off the embellishments. So this was a pretty thin piece. It came off very easily. I wanted it to be a little bit more smooth, but we'll go back and take care of that. I was just seeing if it would stand up on its own, and it does. And then I'm going to just take this piece out here, and I just push down on it gently until it came out. And I'm going to use this little truck sign that I picked up from the Dollar Tree as well, so just seeing how that would work in there. So I accidentally busted the frame just a little bit, so I added some wood glue in, and then I just taped it with some painter's tape to hold it while it dried. And we're going to use some white, I think it's called Snow White, and I'm using the one from Apple Barrel, and we're just going to paint the inside of that using a sponge brush. I'm going to paint the whole inside and all of the sides of the insides, and this board really soaks it up well. So I did end up doing a couple coats, but it dries really quick, so I just went straight from the first coat to the second coat. And I didn't worry about an intensely thick coat because anything that showed through to me just looked a little bit distressed, so I'm good with that. And I'm also just doing a little bit of paint on the edges just to finish that out. Now we have our wood truck piece here, and what I want to do is just pull off one side, but I'm wanting to keep the little pieces that are attaching the two together. So I pulled that off carefully, trying not to break anything, and then I decided to use my little cutting tool, which is also from the Dollar Tree, to kind of score where the glue would be to hopefully help it come apart easier without breaking anything. And that seemed to do the trick. I did go a little bit slow here, but I pulled that off, And now I have one flat piece that I will save for a future project. And then this is the piece we're going to use. And I am just painting this. You can paint it all one color. You can do whatever you want with it. They also have some ornament pieces like this, so whatever you can find. There's lots of truck options at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint the body of the truck in red. We're going to paint the little rails in the back brown and the wheels black. And I'm using all just acrylic paint by Apple Barrel. Here you can certainly use the chalk paint, but I felt like I didn't need the coverage that the chalk paint offered. And once again, trying to use a lot of the paint that I have on hand. So that's what I decided to do here. This was just kind of like a scene picture, and I'm wanting to use up all of the different things I have on hand in my stash. I'm sure you guys have some too if you love to do DIYs. So I encourage you to just kind of go through what you've got and see what you can come up with. I do freehand the top of the wheel here a little bit, but it's really not that hard to do. A small fine tip paintbrush will make all of the difference. You don't have to have, an incredibly steady hand. Just grab a small brush and take your time. Now I also am taking one of these wooden dowel pieces from the Dollar Tree, cutting it down to the size I want. You'll see what I'm doing with it in a second. And I'm going to paint that with the brown paint as well that I already have out. So that's why I'm kind of doing this now, because once my paint was out, I wanted to kind of paint all of the things. And I used a paper towel to kind of wipe it down, just to, give it a little bit more of a stained look. Plus, it allowed me to grab onto it and paint the other side. So we're just going to get that covered and move on. So for this back piece, and the little pieces that are holding up the truck, I just wanted to paint them a little bit with some white paint. So I'm painting those just so that they'll blend in more once everything is attached. You're going to see in a minute how we're putting it all together. And then for this piece, I just wanted to cover up the cardboard piece because I wanted it to look finished. So I'm just painting the whole back with white, and I'm just using one coat. I didn't worry about the edges. The edges have that like faux shiplap look, and I liked it. I just wanted the back of my sign to be finished, but that's totally your call. And now I have these garland ties in my stash. They are from the Dollar Tree. I'm sure they're going to have them this year. They may already. My stores don't have these in yet, but if you see them, pick them up because they come in handy. So what we're doing here is making a little tree for the back of our truck. I'm just giving my little strands a haircut, and we're going to hot glue them onto our little wooden stick. You could also just use a little tree. I didn't have any on hand that were the size I needed for this, but there are a variety of sizes at the Dollar Tree and other stores as well, but I don't have them yet. Well, I probably have some of the bigger ones in my Christmas decor somewhere, and I didn't feel like pulling that out. So I'm just going to cut a few strands of these, hot glue them, trim it up until I get the desired look. If you're new here, I'd love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on my future videos. So now I have these mini ornaments. They're from Walmart last year. They were $1.99 for 6 of them, and I've already used a couple of them. But I'm going to use this one that says Farm Fresh Trees. I think it says $5. And I'm going to hot glue the string on that to the top. I want it to hang, but not hang so much that it's going to be like wobbling and turning around on me. So I'm going to glue that to the top, or what I'm making the top, trimming off the string, and then we're going to use another garland tie, and I'm just bending it to create just a little embellishment on the top of the sign here. Once I have kind of the indentations of where it's going to bend, we're going to just hot glue that along the edge there, and that'll hot glue in and stay in really easy. And now I'm going to use some wood glue and some hot glue. I don't know if that was necessary. I ended up having to add more hot glue, but I'm going to add that to those attached pieces, and you can see here it fits perfectly to be on the back, and the wheels kind of are outside of the sign, just outside of the sign, which also just helps balance the weight of this sign to make it stand up on its own. I'm attaching a little bit of a wood block to the back of the tree to help that attach, and I just covered it with some more of those little pine needles that I trimmed off just to disguise it. Sorry, my head's in the way. I was hoping this angle would help you see what I was doing, but I just hot glued it into the back of the truck, and I was adding a little bit more hot glue on those little posts that were attaching it. And this is how it all came out. I know there's some shadows. I guess it's kind of the nature of this project with the little since it's like a little recessed one. But I love how this came out. I hope that you do too. It's going to be really cute when I decorate for Christmas, which I'm not doing yet, but I will admit I am getting excited. Okay guys, well that is it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Make sure your notification bell is turned on. And I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.